Good afternoon, everyone. How we doing? It's the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. It is our Week 1 rundown. And with me today, my brother, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. Bosco, from the Bronx.
Yo.
With me today, my brother. Yeah, we endured quite a bit on our fandom in terms of what our particular team put out yesterday. We're going to, of course, talk about that on a very shameful display of pride in an anniversary type celebration game where all the legends came back out. We're going to hit on a lot of young quarterbacks starting their respective careers yesterday, ranging from Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, many a rookie quarterback getting their first crack at the league. Primetime didn't disappoint unless if you had the over like this knucklehead did. Yeah, I came up a little short on my parlay because of the friggin' Lions and Rams not going over. Yeah. I was picking many winners yesterday, but that definitely hurt me. We're going to get after it. A full ride through the entire NFL on the way. If you haven't already, make it a point, like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Also want to give a shout out to the Bleed Blue Show. I was chopping it up yesterday with Steve Azul. I kind of seen it as almost like a event session, a therapy session. Shouts out Joe Ruback, LPG, the face of the fan base. He was live on IG today and, kind of just venting it out, our many concerns. But we're going to get into it on a detailed level in just a moment. Enjoy this intro. We'll be right back. All right, we back. Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Idris, Sunday Night Football, last game we saw yesterday, kind of a similar feel to the way the Rams season ended last year. Mm-hmm. They just were not able to make enough plays, and I thought that it was an admirable job by their defense, but, for yet another time, the Detroit Lions win a close game in the Motor City against the Los Angeles Rams. What were your thoughts on what we witnessed yesterday in that heavyweight collision?
It was just like the playoff game. Like you said, the Rams just couldn't make the plays, and Detroit needed the stops when they needed to make the stops. It was a good game, though. It was just a replay of the last year's playoff game. I liked it. It was entertaining. Stafford going back to Detroit again, and I know that the people of Detroit, I mean, of course, they love to see him, but I know they're also glad that Goff was able to beat him again. So it was a good game. It's early in the season too. I think the Rams will get it together, but Puka Nacua, the situation with him, I think they're going to recover. I think they're going to have a good season. Just like Detroit, I think they're going to have a good season as long as Dan Campbell doesn't act like he's in Vegas.
Yeah, that is a big part of his strategy. Like, obviously I was rooting for both offenses yesterday in my parlay that failed. But the thing is like, I myself was talking to the TV and I'm like, come on, Dan, you're at your own 37. You only need 3 yards. I know you want to go for it.
Yeah.
But
play smart.
Yeah. The absence of Aaron Donald was felt, I would say, in the second half because the combo of Jahmyr Gibbs as well as David Montgomery were able to gradually wear down the Rams. And Puka Nacua, you mentioned him. I never wish injury on anyone, but in the fantasy realm of things, I do catch a slight break because of the fact that, Don's going against me, and he was projected to win. He has Brock Purdy tonight. I think I'm up 121.66 to 97 on the dot. So it would take quite the performance from Purdy, and I guess I'm optimistic that the Jets defense could keep me in the clear for a 1-0 start in our fantasy league.
Yeah. I haven't looked at mine yet because I'm afraid to look at my fantasy.
I'm going to be real with you, Idris. Move it along to week 2 and start Lamar Jackson.
Right. That's already on the board.
Yeah. The Vegas odd makers for the Box Cheddar and the Sun League have Mike Zappi as a heavy favorite going into the year. Zappi was wheeling and dealing like Howie Roseman with all those draft pick trades he made last year. But that doesn't always necessarily, lead up to winning. Our commissioner John Olson had a ton of picks last year and somehow managed to barely miss the playoffs. Before we go any further, guys, appreciate the love. Daniel Nunez, J. Bear Jackson. Daniel, thank you for the kind sentiments. I greatly appreciate that you think that highly of our show. We try to do our best to give honest, realistic analysis and to be ourselves. We consider ourselves the anti-ESPN around here. So appreciate you boys always showing us love, always showing up for us. We greatly appreciate that. And Nunez is let's just get it out of the way. Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay Packers. It's a good segue because we did just speak on the Lions. Obviously, the game ended sadly in the sense that Jordan Love's health. I believe that he's anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks away from coming back. Does Green Bay have enough to sustain without him and continue to be in the playoff picture from their spectrum of things? Before the injury, there's a lot of things that Green Bay did that I liked. Jaden Reed was often open. The play calling early on was pretty good, but ultimately, I think the self-inflicted wounds. We could complain if we're a Green Bay fan about some of the missed calls or some of the calls they made. Like, I'll be honest, that Jair Alexander drive extender was a backbreaker. It was not a good call.
No.
And to be honest with you, neither was when Jalen Hurts established himself as a runner. When you are breaking forward through the line of scrimmage, shoulders down, you establish yourself as a runner. There is no interference moving forward. But they miss calls on both sides. I'm not going to blame the Zebras for the result. What more can you say about former Giant Saquon Barkley? A true coming out party in Brazil. The Eagles' offensive line did have some moments of worry in terms of you're not just going to move on completely clean when you lose a guy like a Jason Kelce.
Right.
But I got to say, man, Barkley's presence really makes life a lot easier for that dynamic duo of Devontae Smith as well as A.J. Brown. And, Green Bay, coming into this week, they're going to have a Tennessee Titans team that is going to be a little angry, blowing a 17-point lead to the Bears. Interesting side story is that Malik Willis was drafted by the Titans.
Right.
They gave up on him rather quickly. And
guess who's back?
Film study, young man. You're going to have that QB1 position, barring injury, for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Show that team what you could do, because essentially he's auditioning for a future contract from a different team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll do our predictions as the week gets along, but Green Bay's got a good defense. Green Bay's got a good head coach. They just have to stay above the water, so to speak.
You know, I think with Green Bay, I think they played a good game. Philly played a good game. I mean,
absolutely, you got to give the Eagles praise. You have no other
Philly
choice.
did what they had to do. I mean, you know, of course, Saquon used to be out. I mean, I always say I don't wish none. I wish Saquon the best. Of course, I'm rooting against him because he's an Eagle.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I wish him the best. You know,
like any other person who wears that jersey.
Right, exactly. So you know, there's no personal hate to him. It's a rivalry thing. As for Green Bay, self-inflicting rules, man. I mean, I seen Jordan Love throw off his back foot so many times, and when he threw off his back foot, he threw some horrible passes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's on him. Look, you're in your fourth year, your second year starting. Stuff like that. You know, you sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years. Things like that. If Rodgers could do that because Rodgers, that was his thing. Step back foot, flick it. You've been in the league. Last year you showed the league what you had. You can't come into this league making rookie mistakes. You can't do that. You got everything you need.
There are a couple of guys that are so skilled, that can get away with some things that would drive most coaches insane. Of course, Aaron Rodgers in his prime could do that. Patrick Mahomes could throw a football when he's basically 3/4 of the way on the floor better than most men can throw a football standing up.
Yeah, without pressure on him. You know.
Yeah, no question. I mean, a prime Brett Favre.
Oh, yeah.
Although he did throw a ton of picks, he did some amazing things.
Yeah.
You know, very awkwardly, not the way you would teach the kids or teach anybody for that matter. But Green Bay's just gotta stand tall on their defense. They gotta go. They're gonna have to lean on their defense. You know, the playbook is gonna get a lot more conservative because you're gonna try to do your best to make Malik Willis more comfortable. And as the Eagles go, they did win, and it's not often that you could turn the ball over 4 times and still get a win. So I'm sure Nick Sirianni and co are going to be preaching, more ball security, making better decisions, because it's not often you could get away with that.
Speaking on that what I just said about Jordan Love, about his mistakes, that goes on Jalen Hurts too. You've been a starter for quite a while now, and you're turning the ball over like that.
Yes.
You know, Goody had Saquon Barkley to show up and do his thing, and his receivers and everybody else. Because you know, if he had just an average team, they lose that game.
Yeah.
You know, he had people around him that balled out. You know, so he has to go back and say, "Hey, okay, I got a more ball." As he had an issue last year, ball security. You got to hold the ball. You got what you need behind you. You got what you need on the corners, on the ends.
Yeah, I said it going into this that the Green Bay Packers have an array of receivers who are not necessarily a stud like what your cousin out in Philadelphia is coaching.
Right.
You know, because on a lot of teams, Devontae Smith could conceivably be a number one, similar to how a T. Higgins could be a number one on most teams.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But the thing is, they have a lot of guys that understand the route tree, understand the system, and they're all very young.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're gonna get mistakes in a week 1 matchup, no matter how good the teams are. And I will say this, I was actually quite surprised that the players, thankfully, not too many bodies dropping outside of the unfortunate Jordan Love thing, because you know, you're playing at a soccer field, and if you notice Saquon Barkley slipping early,
first play,
other guys struggling with traction, you know, I'm happy that, you know, Jordan Love, obviously his season's not over, thankfully. And I'm happy that nobody really got hurt, because I'll be honest, dude, when I seen Saquon fall, it's almost like embedded in me to be concerned about him, because of the fact that for so many years, this is a guy that I supported. So when I first saw him slip, I'm not going to lie to you, I had that moment of weirdness where it's like, oh, is he okay? And then I see the shirt and I'm like, well, still want him to be okay. He's on my fantasy team. You guys clowned me on that. But But yeah, I think things could have been a lot worse in terms of that. And the injury that Jordan Love sustained wasn't about the field. That happens anywhere. I do want to say this. Nunez makes a good point here. Back it up a little. Those 2 field goals is what killed the Packers. You're 100% right, sir. Because early on, they could have blew them out.
I said that during the game. I was like, and then when LaFleur went for 2, I think it was a good decision. But I also felt like just keep the points on the board and play.
I personally would have taken a point because it's too early.
Yeah, keep the points on the board.
I thought it was Dan Campbell coaching the Packers for a moment.
Yeah, they was and see with Philly, they were struggling early. Green Bay should have put that game away, but they let Philly get in the groove because Philly didn't really play much starters in the preseason. They let Philly get into the groove and get in the plane, just get going, and then after that, they were rolling, man. Philly was rolling.
And I will say this: while it was cool to see Jair Alexander, in my opinion, do a decent job against a very talented wide receiving corps. Xavier McKinney, it was nice to see him pick off Jalen Hurts again, although it's in a different uniform.
Yeah.
That Green Bay secondary did get scorched on some big ones.
They did.
And they got to communicate a little better back in that third layer of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this. It's early. The Packers are going to have to get to their roots, play some good football, because the Titans are not going to be – nobody's going to be an easy win until Love comes back.
Right.
But it is a division – and the NFC has a lot of parity. As long as the Packers play defense, stay true to their roots, they will be okay. But they're gonna have to put really buckle down and just kind of stay above the water, as I already stated. From the Philadelphia Eagles, we got to go to the other heavyweight contender in our division. Of course, we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Short and sweet. A total team victory yesterday in Cleveland. Zappy was correct in the sense of Dallas catches a break going to Cleveland before the weather really gets terrible. But my takeaways, you have a happy Lamb. Excuse me. You have a happy Dak. You have a happy Zeke because he's where he wants to be. And 2 of those guys got handsomely paid. And Micah, I'm sure they're going to figure out a way to make sure he doesn't skip out of town. But the thing I'm getting at is when you are coming into contract situations and you have an eased mind, you tend to play better. You tend to be more comfortable. I mean, we saw the disaster in Cincy. We'll get on that. But right now, the Cowboys and the Eagles, in addition to being the more talented teams of the 4, they also look like their locker room situations are very tight. And that is a big part in what becomes a driving force of making runs. Truth be told, Deshaun Watson, we've spoken about it on many a show, how his deal busted up the quarterback market. But in my opinion, he is damn near washed. I don't think we're ever going to see the Deshaun Watson that we saw in the pandemic season or before. I don't know if it's between the ears. I don't know if he's having an issue adjusting to the court of public opinion after he went through that ordeal. And maybe I'm wording it wrong because it was other people's ordeals too, depending on the truth variable. I wasn't there. That's not my business. But what I'm getting at is since being in the public eye in a not very savory way, Watson has not been playing the game well at all, not for the money he's making.
I've been saying since he came back, I said I just don't think he's the same player. And I did pick Cleveland to win based on their defense, and I said possibly he might show up. But I was kind of skeptical about it. But what happened, what I thought would happen happened, but I was hoping for a different outcome because of that Cleveland defense. But that offense just didn't show up.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, man. I'm worried if I'm a Cleveland fan you know what you have for defense, but the problem is quarterback-driven league. Deshaun Watson's not playing well. It's a credit to Dallas, but it's also a truthful thing that Deshaun Watson ain't playing well.
Mm-hmm.
You have an Amari Cooper who's a consummate professional, but he's not exactly happy over there right now. You're missing the guy that is the leader of your identity, Nick Chubb. And unfortunately for the Browns, and I said it coming into the season, and it's why I picked them to go last in that North Division, is that they, in my opinion, especially without a healthy Chubb, they don't have an offensive identity, and their defense can only do so much. When you play the better teams in the league, like the Cowboys are, and others, you got to deal with Baltimore, you got to deal with the Steelers. I don't know what I want to say about the Bengals yet, but I'm going to get on it soon. But the point is, the Browns are not going anywhere this particular year for the reasons I just stated. As far as the Cowboys go, I think with diminished expectations coming in, it might actually be a blessing for the organization because, people were bitching and complaining about how they didn't do anything, and then they make a quiet Zeke re-entry. They quietly get Dalvin Cook. They reinvest in their superstars. And, looking at it from a different lens, it kind of explains why Jerry didn't go out and mash it up with free agents, because he wanted to make sure that he invested in the guys that he already has. But, Mike Zimmer's still a very good DC, replacing another good DC who's a head coach, Dan Campbell. And, Dak Prescott has been putting up MVP caliber numbers the last few years. So I expect the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles to take this down the stretch. I picked the Eagles coming in to win this division. I'm going to stand on that for now. But, no horse in the race, just trying to be completely unbiased.
Yeah, well, I picked Dallas to win the division anyway. As much as I don't like them, I did pick them to win the division. I still think they can. Philly's going to contend, of course. Philly's going to contend because I think with Philly, it's going to depend on if Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, because they're a whole different team when he's on the field because of his dynamicism. So it's going to depend on that. I think with Dallas, even though Zeke is not the running back he was, he still brings that thing back to him to where, okay, we're a family again. And he knows them, they know him. So I think that's going to help. I was kind of surprised Rico Dowdell didn't get as many carries as I thought he would get. But
it's funny you say that, because I almost see him as a starting running back.
Yeah.
Only by name.
By name, yeah.
Because you have Dalvin Cook, who has to get back to speed of the NFL. So he's going to take a few weeks to get ready.
Yeah.
But truth be told, whether it's Dowdell or someone else, I think that when the money's on the line and as the year goes forward, you're going to have two very accomplished running backs in this league that are older. Dalvin Cook, who's coming off a disappointing year with the Jets and the Ravens.
Yeah.
You got Zeke, who, in my opinion, actually had a decent year with the Patriots.
He did.
And, these are guys that have been through the wars. So if Dallas stays healthy, and I got to give them a shout out on one other thing. Their O-line played well enough against a very good Cleveland front seven.
Yeah.
You got to give them to them. Got to say that.
At Cleveland at that. So, and the first game of the season, because usually the first game of the season, the whole team is amped up, like, hey, we got our team, we don't have Nick Chubb, but we got a defense, we got decent offense, we got a $300 billion quarterback, we're gonna win this, but you go in there and stink it up.
Yeah, and more to come. I must admit, more to come, because I personally don't think Deshaun Watson's the answer. And from one obvious guy, that's not the answer to another. We have to address the elephant in the room in terms of just what has been meme-worthy, what has been the most picked-on team, and rightfully so today by NFL fans and the media alike. Of course, I'm talking about our beloved New York Giants, putting up a real dud in front of so many legends, so many season ticket holders. You got Lawrence Taylor, Eli Manning in the building, Mark Bavaro in the building, Carl Banks in the building, Phil Simms. The list goes on and on of Giant legends. The family of Flaherty was there to support Malik Neighbors, who unretired that number recently.
And Neighbors showed up. But I'll let you finish first. Yeah.
Oh no, don't worry. It's going to be quick because two reasons. Number one, they don't deserve a lot of air. And number two, I already vented on the Bleed Blue show. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm going to give you the positives. There's not many, but there's a couple. The offensive line, look at their grades, pass blocking, run blocking, played a much better game than they did at any point of last season.
The last few seasons.
No sacks, minimal quarterback hits. And I'll be honest, Daniel Jones looks like a guy who has lost all his confidence.
Yeah.
I credit Brian Flores, his defense. They were blanketing the field. I made a mention to some that Jones did not have the opportunity to push it downfield because of the fact that most guys were blanketed. And while I do believe that to be true, he's still struggling through his progressions.
Yeah.
He did not play well yesterday. And I believe that he was almost looking to run a little too quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got to a point where it was becoming almost like a little too predictable. The turning point in the game happened early. 3-0 Giant lead. It looked like we were going to get the ball back with good field position. And a very ticky-tack pass interference call on I think they said the number wrong. It was the combo of Adoree Jackson and Pinnock in that area. Ultimately it was Adoree, but Jordan Addison made a smart play. He put himself back into the play to perception is the whole thing. And it looked like ultimately it should have been an offensive PI or a no call altogether. But Vikings score quickly. The rest is history. The Giants never truly recovered. And as the game wore on, Zappy made a good point over text.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about porous play calling. Me and Steve spoke last night about how Kafka's off the hook. Dable's the play caller right now, and that might not be the best thing for Dable's future if the Giants fail. And Zappy said it best, in my opinion, from a very honest place. He says, it's not about not being able to develop quarterbacks or to be a good play caller because he had Hurts in the past. He had Tagovailoa.
Mm-hmm.
He had Josh Allen. He was also immersed in the Patriot culture for a while. Mm-hmm. Nick Saban school as well. That breed of coach, the Saban Belichick tree. But the point is that Brian Dable may very well be dealing with just a lack of talent. And the Giants over the last 2 years have been amongst the league's worst in terms of separation for the receivers. And quite frankly, we saw more of that yesterday. The only person that consistently made me feel confident running routes was indeed Malik Neighbors. Mm-hmm. Too many drops. And, too many drops. And also just not feeling that I almost felt like Daniel Jones was playing to not make a mistake, but not playing to compete. And that also, it reminded me moderately of when Eli was at the end of his line, when he didn't have any help around and he started becoming the dink and dunk guy.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones has got to go. And the problem is, while I think the fan base and possibly even the two of us would prefer to see Tommy Cutlets out there, you're not going to see him get started above Drew Lock because Drew Lock's making $5 million. Joe Ruback said it this morning. Other Giant fans have made the point. You're not going to pay DeVito to jump the depth chart over Lock. Right. And I'm not quite sure how many bad performances the Giants are going to be willing to endure from Jones. And it almost makes you feel, as we spoke on the Bleed Blue show yesterday, are there any layers of this being an inside job in the sense of like, all right, we all know that there's been a high controversy, Saquon having his game, Jones having his, two completely different spectrums. But what better way to know that you're going to move on than just letting it burn with him at the quarterback position so you can finally ensure that you get that elusive top 3 pick to get a quarterback because we won too many games last year to do that this year.
The thing about it is this quarterback class coming out this year is not really that strong. That's the problem. Shouts out to Malik Neighbors. He came up. When the game started and we got the sack fumble, I said, oh, this is going to start off real good. Dexy got that. I was like, yeah, we got a field goal. I said, oh, no, here we go again. Mm-hmm. And then Minnesota went right down the field and scored. I said, well, on the PI. But I was like, here we go again. I'm going to make mine brief. because I don't want to give him no time because I'm upset. That's why I got my Caitlin Clark jersey on. I said I'm not wearing anything New York Giants for a while. I've been watching this team for 52 of my 60 years. Well, actually 53 of my 60 years. I've seen the bad, the very bad, and the disgusting. And what I saw yesterday was the disgusting. It was like what I saw back in the 70s when I was 8 years old, first watching the Giants and crying because they got their ass whooped by the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, and they turned around. I remember when the freaking St. Louis Cardinals with Jim Hart and J.V. Kane, rest in peace, whipped the Giants. And I hated the Cardinals. I didn't hate the Cowboys back then. I didn't hate the Redskins. I didn't really hate the Eagles, but I hated the Cardinals because Jim Hart destroyed our defense. And I cried. And my uncle said, don't worry. There'll be better days. They came finally in the 80s. It took that long for me to be like, hey. But anyway, what we saw yesterday was disgusting. Play calling, drop passes, everything. Everything. And I watched the whole game because that's how I don't turn off the games. I watched the whole game. And I was like, that's it for me. I took the decal off my car because I was like, because you know me, I'm the staunchest Giants guy. I was like, I was fireman, what's his name used to do for the Jets? Fireman Jack? Wasn't it Fireman Joe?
Fireman It.
Hey, I was him. I was like, I'm done.
It gets like that. And I'm to piggyback that point, it's not about going through the bad seasons because part of being a fan is embracing it all. I think what really has a lot of people sick, regardless of how you feel about certain players or whatever, is that the end-all be-all cure to feeling better as a fan is winning. But more importantly than that, it's getting to a point similar to what our New York Knicks endured for a while before Leon Rose fixed things. Is that the New York Giants are getting to a point where they're basically putting out an unacceptable product.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I think about the season ticket holders being the driving force. In a lot of what they do, and it's just quite depressing. These people deserve a lot more, and I understand that you're going to have ups and downs as a franchise because anybody that follows Giants history knows that the one thing that they have consistently done is win championships, but in front of those and behind those were a lot of up and down, turbulent, inconsistent years. The Giants have been consistently inconsistent, but they've been around since 25. They're in the top 5 in total wins in the NFL. They are a historic franchise for pre-merger, for during the Super Bowl era. But the bottom line is that you want to have more to feel about than a very illustrious past. And the God's honest truth is right now the New York Football Giants don't have anything to feel good about other than their past. Now, if they go in, D.C., get a W against Washington, not everything is right. But quite frankly, after what I witnessed, I don't have a lot of reasons to believe they're going to be okay. Last thing on them before we move it along.
Right. I agree.
Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, big-time hype. Each got to the quarterback once on just the pressure. And I said it coming into the year because we know how inexperienced our secondary is. If you do not generate a pass rush, you cannot compensate for those issues in the third layer of the defense. And that is essentially what happened. And, a lot of people are like, I can't believe we lost to Sam Darnold. I'm going to say this about Sam Darnold quickly because Minnesota catches the benefit of Green Bay being down a quarterback right now. The tragedy with Kyrie Jackson in the offseason before he even played his first NFL game, they were wise to go get a proven vet in Stephon Gilmore who could still play this game at a high level. You get Aaron Jones, who's showing up to town with a chip on his shoulder because of the way that Green Bay kind of gave up on him unceremoniously.
Right.
Jordan Addison's dinged up. We'll see what happens next week, but he is a very good number 2 receiver, and we all know what Jetta brings.
Oh, yeah, everything.
You draft Dallas Turner, my preseason pick to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And when I look at it from a little bit of a deeper scale, I don't think the Minnesota Vikings are nearly as terrible as everybody thinks they're going to be. That will be revealed. And their offensive line is good. When you could keep Kayvon and Burns out of your backfield, your offensive line is doing a damn good job. The only guy that really seemed to win his one-on-ones was Dexy.
Dexy, yeah. And he's going to win his. And see, and people forget Sam Darnold. I mean, he never panned out to be the number one quarterback that people thought he was. I mean, I didn't think he was all that great coming on USC myself. However, he's been in the league for a while. And after a while, you become that type of quarterback. Like, okay, I may not be a starter, but you could put me in any offense, and I'm going to keep us afloat until the main man comes back.
I see this as an audition for next year because the truth is,
it might come to us.
Yeah, but I mean, the God's honest truth is, he's never played with even a fraction of the offensive talent that those Vikings have. People could say they had a paper schedule a couple of years ago, which is partially true, but the bottom line is Kevin O'Connell is a really good head coach, really good play caller.
Yeah.
Really good offensive mind. Brian Flores wasn't a bad head coach, and now he's a defensive coordinator. And I will say this. Shane Bow and Brian Dable got outcoached by Brian Flores and Kevin O'Connell onto Washington versus Tampa.
Before you go forward,
yeah.
People got to remember, Sam Darnold in Carolina was pretty damn good at the end with Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, he was gaining some confidence again. And,
he had nothing there.
I was confident that last year, if Brock Purdy got injured, Sam Darnold was going to be able to do it because of the talent around him. I don't think he's nearly as terrible. But the Jets were a dysfunctional organization when he was there.
Giants 721, 650, and 34 all time.
Yeah. It's going to be a long season. It is very intriguing to see if we drop hella bad, if that's going to be the end of Brian Dable. Because like I said, he put a target on his back when he decided to take over play calling duties, and we'll see how that plays. But moving it along to a new head coach for the Washington Commanders, Dan Quinn's guys come up short against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not really surprised. The Commanders' secondary is still very leaky.
Yeah.
And that's honestly one of the only reasons why I think the Giants actually have a chance this coming Sunday. I'm not going to overemphasize that. I'll be real. I'm going to probably pick the Commanders to win the game. But what did you see from new quarterback Jaden Daniels that you liked?
The guy can run. He can run. I think he had a decent game. He didn't make any big mistakes. He didn't throw any picks. I think he threw the ball well. He ran the ball real well. He just needs some time. But I like what I've seen out of him. I think he's going to be a real good quarterback. I think he's playing under a defensive coach.
Yes.
And sometimes with defensive coaches, the quarterback doesn't excel like they should. So, but I think he's going to be a real good quarterback, man. I liked what I saw. He has good poise. I mean, he has to learn not to run all the time. Like, look, rely on your receivers. Look, rely on Scary Terry. But that's it. He just gotta be more poised and realize, look, you're in the big leagues now. These guys out here hit a whole lot harder than they did in college. They will knock you out. So there he is. Nunez. What's up, man?
Oh, that's me twice.
You said what?
That's me twice.
Oh, I thought that was Nunez.
No, you know what it is? I'm trying to pull up a picture, but I had to come on the phone to make that happen.
I remember I'm on my phone and was close to one.
Just bear with me.
Like, look at Nunez. Hey, don't do this. I'm like,
just bear with me 1 second. I had to.
Now you good. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. He just got to learn to, have more poise. Rely on his team. Say this is the NFL now. They hit you harder, and it's a little different here. You don't have to win the game all the time because you got players around you who can do that. You just got to get the ball to him. But I like what I saw out of him. Again, that's the quarterback I wanted in the draft, first and foremost, but I knew he wasn't going to fall to us. I knew that.
No, sir.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, and then that's also back to my other point
Mm-hmm.
about what I deem to be somewhat important.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're gonna suck, you got to suck enough. Because the bottom line is that you are not going to get what you want, so to speak,
Right.
if you win meaningless games later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not gonna be good enough.
No.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be good enough, and moving forward, long season.
Yeah.
That's thoroughly what I expect. Keeping it in the Sunshine State, we're going to move it along to some AFC action now. A couple of things that I saw that I found rather interesting. I mean, the football day started with a little bit of disarray when you consider that the Tyreek Hill sitch, that was pretty crazy.
That was wild.
Yeah, the Tyreek Hill situation was really wild. I for one couldn't believe that. Listen, I come from a police family. Okay, let me make that clear first and foremost.
Yeah. Right.
And I do understand that Reek may have very well been disrespectful. But having said that, if you're not toting a weapon, and if you were not physically threatening someone, I do tend to believe that they were trying to make an example by putting him face first in the concrete, as opposed to even on the other side of the vehicle where not everybody or TMZs and everybody else could get up in there.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it's troubling to see. And listen, I want to make one thing clear. I wasn't there, of course. Right. I'm not of the complete belief that Tyreek Hill wasn't a little disrespectful, possibly.
Right. Same here.
But the bottom line is like, I need to see something a little more evidential, because it opens up yet another situation where people are like, okay, well, if it's not Tyreek Hill and just a different person of color, how bad is it?
Yeah.
And that's something to think about, because, these are the separations and the distances that, unfortunately, that continue to happen with law enforcement and people of color. I've been saying this forever, that it is important in those communities for people to see a human under that badge, because it does wonders for the community element of it and a more relatable 50-50 meeting ground. Because, I take Drew Rosenhaus as far as I could throw him. I'm not going to sit here and buy all of it. You know what I'm saying?
Drew Rosenhaus, yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the biz for sure.
The agent of agents.
The agent of agents. But Idris, I must admit, we're all about the entertainment, and the NFL is all about the entertainment. This may very well be the absolute best celebration I have seen probably since Joe Horn and his lovely self.
Look here. I was watching that live on TV, and I said, no, they didn't.
And listen, I'm not trying to be a wise ass, but it's like, how am I supposed to believe that Tyreek Hill poses a physical threat to some of those officers that were big? I'm like, bro, he's like the size of Kevin Hart.
Right, exactly. Dude, when I seen that celebration, I was like, no, they didn't.
But when I see Rosenhaus going in, and he was like, coming like sweating, like he had like the Vegas cocaine sweats coming in. Rosenhaus like sweating through his polo shirt.
Dude, I was in my car driving, right?
Yeah.
And I had the game up on my phone. I was there, I got to the light and they had just scored. I was like, hell no. Drew Rosenhaus, I was like, I can't take no more.
No, for real. It was kind of comical, I must admit. As the game goes, although the Jacksonville Jaguars came up short, I do think that they should have won that game, yes. Yeah. I feel that they have something to feel good about moving forward.
Yeah.
In that division as well,
pertaining
to Jacksonville. Houston won a close one against the Colts, as I expected they would.
The Colts blew that.
Yes, they did.
God, they blew that game.
Yes, they did. But what I'm seeing in the early going is Jacksonville, myself, as well as Zappy, they are our pick to win the division despite starting out 0-1. Miami Dolphins, I know what their schedule looks like. They got to prove something to me when the weather gets cooler. Can they be that tough team mentally that can go into those climates?
Yeah, same here. I feel the same way because Jacksonville went down there and gave it to them.
No question.
They should have won it, but they let Miami know. Look, we're here. We're coming. You're not the only ones in Florida.
Oh no, I got news for you. If I'm a Jaguars fan, even though the loss is annoying, I'm feeling pretty good coming in to this new season. I thought Jacksonville played very well. I think Trevor Lawrence looks a lot better. A couple of other shout outs I want to make along the way. New England Patriots, bro.
Woo-hoo!
Defeating the Cincinnati Bengals. Gerard Mayo, his coaching debut. Leading up, once again, very wild day before everything got started. You know, Jamar Chase is sick.
Yeah.
He's also sick of not getting that contract. You know, I mean, he played. He did what was right in terms of the locker room presence stuff. But I must admit, this is the contrast of what I said: happy Zeke, happy CD, happy Dak, da-da-da. This is the polar opposite. Now you have a healthy Joe Burrow finally. Yeah. T. Higgins dinged up, hopefully, shooting to be back for the KC game. Yeah. And a slow Bengals start is nothing new. They start slow every
year. Yeah.
But I am a little concerned about the disconnect with Chase and the front office because it's like, if you're going to pay him in week 4 as opposed to paying him in week 1, what the hell are you waiting for?
What are you waiting on?
Yeah, right. And it's almost, and it's got to be a little discouraging when you see a guy that's in your class, a CD Lamb, getting paid. Jetta, another guy, and it's like Ayuk got paid.
Yeah, paid.
Yes, and it's like you got to be feeling it if you're Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase has done quite a bit in a short period of time in playoff games. In a relatively young career. So I do believe that if that thing continues to linger over Cincinnati, my expectations of what they can and can't accomplish might come plummeting down.
I was keeping an update on the NFL Network with that score, and I said, wait a minute, they hadn't scored yet? And I thought it was a misprint. And I was like, New England is beating these guys?
Yeah, it was honestly hard to believe. I'm not even joking.
Only 2 people I know had them win, Coco and my niece Morena, because they both are Patriots fans. And I was like,
damn well Coco didn't really think they were going to win.
She ain't really do that.
Come on. You're trying to hold both of us up to that. Oh, you owe me an apology. I had a lot of people asking me for apologies yesterday.
Me too.
Ranging from you were wrong about Daniel Jones to you were wrong about the Patriots.
Yeah.
To just
see, y'all relax. It's just week 1.
Yeah,
it's just week 1. They ain't started yet. I mean, but shouts out to the Patriots. They did what they had to do. Gerard Mayo, defensive guy himself. He got that defense doing what they had to do. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, back in New England, so they won. I mean,
I'm happy for Mayo because as a player. Although I'm the furthest thing from a Patriot sympathizer, he was always a player that I had a lot of admiration for, a guy I respected on a very high level because he played the game the right way.
Yeah.
I believe that if he would have hung out a few more years, he was definitely going to be in the Hall.
Yeah, he just couldn't stay healthy either.
Yeah.
Good player, though. Real good player.
No question. The Atlanta Falcons, I picked them. I must admit, I thought they were going to beat Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I didn't think they were. I didn't think they were.
The Steelers win another ugly one, but it's like the Steelers have mastered the art of winning ugly games. I gotta say, bro, I'm legitimately happy for Justin Fields, who kind of got dumped by the Bears right when the Bears were getting all kinds of offensive ammunition. And Caleb Williams in contrast with the Bears' victory coming down from 17 against the Titans, I touched on it, but not on the Bears side. I think Fields wins in terms of who was more impressive in week 1 this season.
Yeah.
But, that's not a game the Chicago Bears win last year either.
Right.
Steelers side of things, it would make no sense to me to start Russell Wilson over Justin Fields because Fields is literally the upside.
Fields is more and more mobile. Yeah, you got to go with Fields, man. Just put him in there. I mean, I think Russell Wilson has had his time. I think he squandered opportunities. I think in training camp he could have won that. I mean, yeah, I know he got hurt a little bit, but he could have won that position. You've been in the league, 15 years or so. You're supposed to win that position. You're supposed to show this young boy, hey, this is my job. You got to take it from me, And he didn't do it. And Justin Fields wants to play.
Absolutely.
He wants to play. He didn't like it the point that they got him out of Chicago and didn't bring everything in that he needed last year.
And, I'm happy for him to a level because that was in his backyard.
Yeah.
As Kirk Cousins goes, I still think in the big picture he makes this Atlanta team better, but I still say, regardless of what the contract statutes say, he will only be their quarterback for 2 years. 3 is the most because I really do believe that when they drafted Michael Penix, it was for that reason. I still think the Falcons are going to be heard from. As the Steelers go, controversially amongst some people that follow our show, because we have a decent following in Baltimore, shouts out Chris Dixon, friend of the show. He was pretty irritated with me that I had his Baltimore Ravens, not qualifying for the playoffs. So I do want to revisit the premier game in just a moment. Quickly, of all the rookies, Bo Nix, all the youngsters, who impressed you the most out of these young kids in week 1?
I'm gonna go with Jaden Daniels, man.
That's reasonable, even though they lost. I think that's a reasonable choice.
I'm gonna go with him because, like I said, he played clean. He did what he did in college: run the ball, get the yards, He didn't. I don't think he threw for a touchdown yesterday, but I'm gonna give it to him because Caleb Williams looked the way I thought he would look. With Drake Maiden, we know Drake May situation. Bo Nix looked like a rookie.
Yes, indeed.
He looked like a rookie. He looked like a rookie out of Oregon. And I said what I always say: quarterbacks from Oregon, Ohio State. Even though C.J. Stroud showing out Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama. The Big 5 teams, they don't fare well in the NFL. And Bo Nix, I think he may get better because of the coach he has. But that offense, that Chip Kelly offense, they ran up in Oregon.
Yeah,
those quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota, even Justin Herbert still struggles a bit. I think he's going to want to be in the best one out of the bunch, Justin Herbert, because of who he has with him now.
Well, the thing I like about the Herbert situation is I think the insertion of Jim Harbaugh protects Herbert from himself.
Yeah, because Harbaugh is going to get the best out of him because he's not going to have him throw him 40, 50 times a game.
Hell
He's going to say, no, we're running the ball, buddy.
You're damn right they're running the ball. They're going to implement that because both Harbaugh brothers are known for 2 things, in addition to being incredibly intense.
Right.
They run the shit out of the ball, and they really center a lot of their offensive philosophies around the tight ends.
You might throw 20 to 30 times, but you're going to run the ball about 25, 30 times too.
And ultimately it comes down to winning. And,
winning.
It's a divisional win. The Chargers start off 0-1. And I'm sorry, 1-0. Yeah. And, it's a good thing right now. I think Harbaugh is going to push them quickly. Possibly the only thing more pathetic than our New York Giants yesterday, probably the Carolina Panthers. But I'll be honest, we have a better roster than they do. So I'm going to give us the biggest dud of the week. Saint fans, will you sit down? You beat the friggin' Panthers.
Yeah, right.
That's all I'm going to say for now.
What a quarterback from Alabama, just like I just said. They don't have nothing. They got Miles Garrett? Not Miles Garrett, Miles Sanders. That's all they have. And
Miles Sanders is buried on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had quite a fall from grace since leaving the Philadelphia Eagles. Buffalo Bills, Arizona Cardinals. I will say this. Going into the year, Brett, myself, others on the panel, we all vouch for Josh Allen being a legitimate MVP candidate. But I think similarly to what we saw yesterday, you're going to see a lot more games where Buffalo is going to be immersed in shootouts.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. Jonathan Gannon, shouts out to him even in defeat. The Arizona Cardinals are vastly improved. I want to make that clear.
You know what?
Arizona Cardinals are vastly improved.
They should have won that game. I'll tell you why. Kyler Murray missed a wide open Marvin Harrison Jr.
He most definitely did.
Missed. He was out there like.
And truthfully, that might be the most entertaining game thus far. It's between that and the opener, the two openers, between the Chiefs, Ravens, as well as the Packers, Eagles. Josh Allen is nursing a sore non-throwing hand. According to him, he's all right, but every player says they're all right.
Oh, yeah.
It's something to monitor because they have a short week and they're going to be playing the Dolphins in Miami Gardens. So it's something to monitor. Before we hit on Monday Night Football, I do want to hit on this rematch from earlier in the week. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens. I didn't forget about you, Chris. Lamar Jackson played an outstanding football game, but my question to you, Idris, is some of the production fool's gold? Because the God's honest truth is, for a decent juncture of this game, I never really felt like the Kansas City Chiefs were in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think before the season began, I thought the addition of Derrick Henry would make a big difference, but I see how it kind of changed the dynamics of the team, of the way they played. Look, you got it. Lamar Jackson has to have the ball in his hand, and you guys, you and Zappy said on the show last week, when you're behind, you take Derrick Henry out the game.
Indeed.
You have to, because he's just not that. I mean, they're going to have to incorporate him on more passing plays, man, out of bubble screens, stuff like that. They're going to have to, because if not, it's going to be tough, man, because, you're going to rely on Lamar Jackson running the ball all the time. I mean,
it's a weird situation because I'm still not convinced that the carry share is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I got to see more games out of these Ravens, but I will say this, something that I am concerned about if I'm a Raven fan. Patrick Queen is a Steeler.
Right.
And one thing that he did well was be able to respectfully hang around against slot guys.
Yeah.
As well as traditionally playing that position, and also dealing with tight ends. And what bothers me if I'm a Ravens fan is that when you're playing these high octane offenses, I think that it's being proven that they can stretch you out and they can hurt you.
Yeah.
The Ravens did not look. I get it. You're playing the Chiefs. You're playing the best quarterback on planet Earth. We know that.
Yep.
But having said that, the Chiefs just looked more prepared. I don't take the same total onus in the score. I understand that Lamar had a great day fantasy-wise and that kind of value, but I don't necessarily believe that the game was as close as the score. No. Before we get out of here, Monday Night Football tonight, final thing we're going to cover here. Aaron Rodgers. And what's an interesting caveat to this game is the man who ended his season last year actually plays for the 49ers now.
Exactly.
What is your big outlook for tonight? What are you looking for, Idris?
Man, I don't even know. I mean, what Aaron Rodgers will we have? Is he back? He has everything he needs on offense. We know what the defense can do. San Francisco is just like them. They got everything on offense. They got everything on defense. Golly. I don't know, man. I picked the 49ers to win. But God, Aaron Rodgers, man, he's got a chip on his shoulder this year, man, because he missed all last year. Now it's all these expectations, man. I'm gonna go with Frisco still. Yeah. I think it's gonna be a good game. It's going to be a good game. It's going to come down to the last to play the defense, man.
I believe that the New York Jets, if this was a game played in Week 6, maybe would have a better chance because of the fact that the 49ers are a little more seasoned and together.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think it's going to take a little time for Aaron Rodgers to feel all the way good. And I don't care what anybody says. When you're coming off that injury, it's going to be weird. It's almost like you got to get hit a couple of times to kind of feel the game flow.
And he hasn't played at all. He hasn't.
No, he hasn't. So this is huge. This is a huge moment for the Jets' future to see if Aaron Rodgers could stay healthy. I will say this. I love what this team did in the offseason defensively. Even without Hassan Reddick, with all the back and forth with his displeasure of his contract, this is a very – I got to look. I'm not even sure. But one thing I do know is that the 49ers, top to bottom, in my opinion, have the best roster in the NFL.
Oh, the most complete team, man.
Absolutely. They're my prediction to win the Super Bowl this year, to finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs. My grand concern in this game well, I'm going to watch it because it's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah.
But is for the New York Jets to keep Brock Purdy in some kind of non-fantasy football hero role, because at the top of the hour, I alluded to how I'm preserving a decent lead in fantasy, but, a Purdy breakout game could mess that up. My final tonight, low scoring. I got the San Francisco 49ers holding on in a tight one, 23-20. And I think the Jets walk away from this saying, hey, man, we just want blow for blow with the most talented team in the NFC, possibly the league. And I think the Jets are a team that should make the playoffs this year if that man, number 8, stays healthy. And in the event that he does get hurt, Tyrod Taylor gives you the ability to stay in games. One other guy, that's returning is Breece Hall.
Yep.
So it's going to be a big one in that regard, too. The Jets drafted 2 different running backs because of a concern of how far along is Breece Hall. So that's something to monitor as well. But I must admit this. Robert Saleh, this is a make or break year for him as well, because with some big names that might be re-entering the NFL, one particular one, Bill Belichick, who refused to coach the Jets some years ago. I got to say, the Belichick thing, there are like 3 or 4 teams where I could see him being employed, and 2 of them are in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah, bring them on.
I would also consider the Dallas Cowboys if Mike McCarthy, displeases Jerry Jones. If there's another quick exit. I mean, where else would he truly make sense? Perhaps Jacksonville, perhaps Miami.
Chicago.
Once again, Chicago would be interesting.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him breaking Papa Bear's record like over there? So, that's interesting.
They might not want him for that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want him for a lot of things. But after seeing
27-24 Frisco, man. But
if he decides to stay away from the NFL, one thing I must say is that new breezy that Mr. Belichick has on his arm, he might be getting on them Cialis commercials.
For real.
For Idris, I am Richie. We appreciate you spending a part of your Monday with us. Announcements to come for our next show, but pretty much put it in writing that at minimum, we are going to give you half of our previews this coming Wednesday. After the marathon that was the Week 1 preview, we are going to be breaking up our shows into 2 different videos. Until next time, I am Richie. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy Monday Night Football. Have a great, prosperous week, and make good decisions out there. We out.
Caitlin Clark, Rookie of the Year.
Yes, sir. There is nobody else to even think that could take that award. And New York Yankees, you're playing a good team today, so I expect you to win. Seems like you just can't beat the bad ones. All right, shut up, Richie. We out.